Good morning. Ah, the audio cut out again. All right, I got something's wrong with my script. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to PhotoJoseph's Photo Moment, the first live daily photo show on YouTube every weekday morning, 9:30 a.m. Pacific. If you aren't watching it live, you should be. It's so much fun to watch live. You get to participate in the chat like all these beautiful people here who are commenting away and getting my attention, which, by the way, if you were seeing this, you see the little red PhotoJoseph, that's what I see, not what you see, but what I see. So if you want to get my attention, do type at PhotoJoseph. It'll autocomplete for you, and that will show up nice and red on my screen, and then I will know that you have something to say. Please do not say, hey, PhotoJoseph, look at my question from 15 lines ago. Ain't gonna happen. Just if you forget to type it, copy and paste your question in, put that at PhotoJoseph. If I can't see it at a glance, I don't have time to look for it. Otherwise, I do this. And that's bad television. So, what are we talking about today? Let's just say good morning to everybody. There's a lot of people here in the chat room this morning. A lot of people saying hi already from all over the world. I love it. Hey, let's do one of those quick world shout outs. Everybody shout out where you're watching from today. I love that. I love getting those where everybody's coming in from. It's so cool because there's so many people from all over the world that watch the show live even, which is crazy considering that, you know, the world is round and there's people on the other side and it's different times there, very different times. North Carolina, Eddie, Hereford, UK, Romania, I love that, Washington, D.C., North Cyprus, hello, New York, Boston, hello from Brexit, yikes, Los Angeles, Virginia, Atlanta, Georgia, London. Oh, this is fun. I should do this all the time. I know there's more of you there than that. Oh, there we go. Shropshire, United Kingdom, Shropshire. You have to say it like that, Shropshire, United Kingdom. Excellent. Boston, too. See, like, you guys find out where you are, you can make friends. You go, oh, let's have a little meetup and go have coffee somewhere. South Ohio, Olympia, Washington. I love it. Marvin's from LOL. It's a great place to be. Tony is calling in from London. Why is my watch buzzing? D-Tech Logic in your backyard of Los Angeles. Well, that's kind of my back. That's like my way backyard. That's like the back 40 backyard. Fort Wayne, Indianapolis. Howdy from London. John, I have an email to you that is 90% written. I just need to write the last couple lines and I'll hit send. I was going to do it before the show and then I realized I got a show to do. But it's nearly out to you. From the Bay Area, excellent. Shropshire, UK, where they invented bokeh. Or is it bokeh? Anywhere, Martin, is that anywhere near Lord of the Rings Shire? That's funny. Connecticut. Oh, this is so great. Okay. Oh, Together in Style. Hey, guys. Good to see you. They are a team that is one of the LUMIX Luminary team. Well, hello. John Hawkins, Lake Winnipesaukee. Ooh, did I get that right? Winnipesaukee. I think I got that right. Charlotte, North Carolina. John says, woohoo. Yeah, I know, right? Fun. Okay, let's get this thing started. So today we're talking about this little guy right here, this little tiny itty bitty lens. It's like pocket size, it's tiny. I have been loving this lens. It's going to be sad to give up. But to be honest, to be fair, I don't need this lens. I don't shoot the type of stuff where I need this lens. And in fact, it took me a while to find something worthy of the lens to shoot. I went out several mornings. For those of you who follow me on Instagram, you might have seen it. I went out several mornings here locally, early sunrise, to try and shoot something like birds. Because we have, there's birds, you know, it's nature, there's birds everywhere. And then we have a couple of areas that are kind of, not sanctuaries, I don't even really call it, but little swampish areas that are preserves, maybe that's the word, reserves, preserves. Isn't preserve something you put on your toast? Where birds hang out. Little sanctuary type things. And so I went down there and the birds all went, ain't coming out for you. And I spent several very cold mornings with a hot cup of bad coffee waiting for the birds to get interesting, and they never did. And then I remembered, oh yeah, less than 2 hours away from where I live, we have this thing called the Wildlife Safari, that's what it is, in Winston, Oregon. And it is a full-on wildlife safari, wildlife animal park thing. It is incredible. It's like you're in Africa. And you know, here's an interesting little shout out to them. They had a stat up. They raise animals there, right? And they had, was it leopards? Shoot, now I got it. Not leopards, panthers. Maybe it was leopards. One of the big cats. They have birthed more of that big cat, I think it was leopards, in that little park there than anywhere else in the United States. How cool is that? It's just an amazing place. Now, the animals are out wild and you're in your car. As you might imagine, some of the animals, they still have caged behind fences, like the big cats. Those don't just come running up to you. But apparently, there is and I'm going to have to look into this more, but I was told while I was there that apparently you can make a special reservation. I don't know if it's an early morning tour, it's definitely an early morning before opening tour. I don't know if it's a once a week thing or if it's on demand or whatever, but where they'll bring the big cats out of the cages and you're still in your car. But the big cats are out of the cages, and you can get better photos of them because when they're in the cages, they're usually hiding, and you'll see. I have some. How cool is that? So if you want to get really good shots of incredible big cats up close, and you don't want to fly all the way to Africa, you can come to Oregon to do it. Which I realize for some of you is actually farther than Africa, but for those of you who it's not, that's an option. I think it's really, really cool. I do want to see, there were a couple of things that were flying past earlier on in the comments. I'm going to do a quick little scroll through those before we get into this because there were some relevant things to the lens that I wanted to mention. Someone had said, maybe it's not. It doesn't matter in there. Someone had said, oh, that lens is really expensive. I could never afford that lens. I wouldn't buy that lens. Totally legit, right? This is not a cheap lens. In fact, here, let's bring up the page. The page on B&H. There it is, $1797, so $1,800 lens. Clearly not cheap. So this is let's just go through the specs. This is a Leica lens. So it's a Panasonic/Leica lens. That means that it is made by Panasonic under Leica supervision. There's Leica engineers in the Panasonic factory that work with the Panasonic engineers. The glass is Leica glass, and everything is made to Leica specifications, but it's built in a Panasonic factory. So basically, you're getting a Leica lens for like 10% of the price, because we all know Leica lenses aren't cheap. So there's that. So that just tells you it's super great quality, right? So good. VARIO-ELMAR, I honestly have no idea what that means. 100-400mm f4 to 6.3. So on the long ends, it's a little on the slow side. It seems like it's on the slow side at f6.3, and then you got your whole, 100-400 is micro four thirds size. So in full frame, that's a 200-800mm equivalent. F4 to 6.3 is whatever the heck that is in 35mm full frame equivalent. And you might think, and I thought, 6.3, that's kind of slow. It's a little on the slow side. But you will see photos where I'm at the full 800mm, 400mm, 800mm equivalent, wide open, and there's fantastic bokeh. I mean, it looks great, right? So you're going, okay, so it's not a bokeh issue. Yeah, sure, you could have, if you had a larger lens, you'd have better low light performance, you'd be able to shoot at higher shutter speed, lower ISO, yada, yada. But the lens would also obviously be considerably larger. So 800mm lens equivalent is, at this size, is pretty impressive. So this is, as far as I know, for micro four thirds, that's the longest. I shouldn't even say that. There might be a longer, faster lens out there for micro four thirds. I don't think there is. Certainly not from Panasonic, but obviously other manufacturers can make them. So it's worth looking into if you need that much faster speed. But even with that slow f6.3 aperture, shooting wide open, obviously, with the built-in stabilization on there. And someone did ask us, right? That was the question. That was the other question. Someone asked about the dual IS. This does have dual IS, so I know you can't see it. I don't have it hooked up, but it does do the dual IS. It is dual 2 IS, so that's dual IS version 2. This is one of the few lenses that was able to be upgraded. You might recall that when the GH5 was first announced, it was said that many of the older lenses would be able to be upgraded to dual IS 2. It turned out not to be the case. Panasonic retracted that and said, sorry, turns out some of the older ones can't, but this one can and is. And this is, I think it's version 1.2 firmware. Let me just take a quick look on here. If you're wondering how to do that, so I don't have the rigging to hook this up, but actually, no, that's not true. I can just do this. Hold on. Let's do this. Let me just hook this up here. Let me get out of Vlog so this doesn't look weird. And let's do this. And I think, is it going to come up? Am I doing this right? I feel like I'm doing something wrong today. Oh, I've got, you know what, forget it. It's all set up for my training, for recording training. We're not going to do that. Anyway, if you go into the menu, if you're wondering on yours, go to the wrench. That's not the C wrench, but the wrench, and then you scroll down to, here it is, page 3 of 4. It says version display, and that'll tell you what version your body and your lens is at. And the latest for this lens is version 1.2. So if you own this lens, do check on your camera and see that you're running the latest firmware. Okay, so stabilization is amazing. Handheld, phenomenal. Hand holding at 800mm. That's kind of crazy cool. And I'm going to show you pictures in just a moment here. All handheld. So that's awesome. Great. Now I got cables, pulling cables. So it's dual IS 2. Someone asked about price. Oh, so the price. So yeah, it's obviously this is not a cheap lens, but this is obviously not a lens that everybody needs, and it's definitely not a lens that everybody needs all the time. So if this is the lens you go, oh my God, I want that lens, and I'm going to go do this thing. I'm going on a safari. I want to go to the wildlife safari in Oregon. I want to go to the local zoo. And you want to get amazing pictures with a lens like this, rent it. right? You can always rent. Lensrentals.com, borrowlenses.com, or your local camera store. If you live in New York, you can go to B&H. If you live in LA, you can go to Sammy's and any other number of places where you can rent gear. Rent it. It's a great way to get your hands on really awesome kit without having to pay the big price tag. It's, relatively speaking, it's really not expensive, but I mean, $1,800 is obviously a lot of money for pretty much anybody, and if you're not going to use it all the time, there's no point in buying it. But if you want to use it occasionally, do consider renting. I like that. I love that you can rent gear, and you can rent it so easily now. The online rental companies make it so easy. I love using those guys. I've used both, Borrow Lenses and lensrentals.com, so I don't have a preference, just whichever one. Try on either one of them. If you rent, try using a discount code PhotoJoseph. I know I had one at some point. I don't think either of them work anymore, but it's worth a try. You might get a discount. And if you do decide to buy one, do me a favor, scroll down. There's going to be an affiliate link in the show notes for B&H and probably Amazon and a bunch of other places. Do please purchase using one of those affiliate links. I would appreciate that. Okay, someone had asked in the pre-show as well how much this weighs. That is a very good question. Let's see here. Let's just take a look at the B&H page. I'm sure we will find this under the specs. Here we go. And aperture, camera, focal features, physical. There we go. Physical weight, 2.17 pounds, almost a kilo, 985 grams. So compared to other Lumix lenses, obviously it's heavier, it's bigger, but that's really not bad. And you can handle, and I even put the battery grip on here. I went like full on with this thing. I was like, yeah, I'm going for the big boy. And it's so funny because you do all this and it's still half the size of my old Canon 1DS Mark III. Go figure. I would not want to handhold this combination on that. Okay, so there's that. What else do we want to talk about on the camera, on the lens? A couple other quick little spec things on it. I know we've talked about a lot of this before. I did do a previous video where I talked about all kinds of lenses, and I think I talked about this one quite a bit on there. We'll link to that if you want just kind of an overview of lenses. But just to continue on this one, a few features on here. I've removed it, but there is a tripod foot, if you will, that goes on here, so you can mount this onto your tripod, and then once that's mounted on the tripod, you can rotate it, you undo that collar, and you can rotate the lens without having to take it off of the tripod or to rotate the whole tripod head. Super handy that. Also putting the tripod mount here centers the camera, right? It balances the camera much better. That is balanced, whereas obviously that is not, right? So that keeps it much more balanced, much easier to move around on the tripod. And it just keeps this big weight from pulling down on your lens mount all the time. You have 3 physical switches on here. The top one is your focus range, so it's full range or 5 meters to infinity. The closest focus distance, so what is the closest focus distance? Does it say on here anywhere? I actually don't know. Well, it's less than 5 meters because that is the limited range. So when you put it in the limited range, it will not focus, it will not try to focus on anything closer than 5 meters. So if you know your subject is off in the distance, you put it there and you're going to have better autofocus, better. If you were ever in a situation where the camera decides, oh, it really can't find something, it's going to rack all the way back to the closest focus and then forward again, by limiting it, it just doesn't go as far before it goes back and goes, oh, didn't find it, and goes back the other direction. So I generally leave it in that because with this lens, you're not shooting things up close, and so I pretty much always leave it there. Next, underneath that, you have the autofocus / manual focus switch. So all your Lumix cameras will have a switch somewhere else on the camera to go manual or auto. The GH5, of course, has it under your thumb in here. So on the GH5, this is less necessary, but some bodies do not have. So my GX8 also has a physical switch there, but some cameras don't have a physical switch, or the physical switch is harder to get to, or whatever. So that can be a nice added bonus. I think all the Leica lenses have that physical autofocus switch, which can come in very handy on some smaller cameras. And then underneath that, you've got your power OIS. That's the optical image stabilization, so you can turn that on or off. When you turn that off, you'll see a display on the back of the camera. It shows a red hand with shaky symbols, and it says off, just so you know that it is off. And oh boy, the difference in turning that on or off is remarkable. If you've ever looked through a 400 or even 800mm lens, handheld, you could be steady as a rock and you still see shake. You can put it on a tripod and just a little bit of tripod movement, you see a huge shake. You turn on that OIS on here and it's phenomenal how you can how easily you can handhold even at the full 400mm focal length. It's crazy, crazy impressive how good that stabilization is. All right, what else? Zoom ring there. It also has a locker on here that keeps it from zooming. That's really, I don't know what it's really for, because it doesn't drift, right? On a lot of cameras, you'll see a lens like that, or a lot of lenses, you'll see a lock like that. and it's so that it doesn't drift when you're carrying it around, because otherwise it just kind of over time goes out. This is quite a stiff zoom, so I don't see it ever drifting. And I've talked to people who've had these for quite some time and used them extensively, and apparently the zooming doesn't get any looser, so that's really nicely designed. So I'm not really sure what the benefit of the lock is on there, but it's there. Manual focus ring up front, of course, if you're going to go manual focus. It has a kind of a double lens hood. Take this thing off. So that's your lens shade, which is a plastic lens shade, but it's got a little locky-do on it. But it also has it's a mini retractable lens shade on there. I'm curious. So I guess maybe some situations you don't even need this. Good thing that one's plastic. I just always leave it on. There's really no point in taking it off, unless you need to save a few inches in your camera bag, but there you go. So let's see, that's the lens, I guess. Not much else to talk about on the lens itself. Yeah, let's look at some pictures. Let's see what's going on in the comments here. We are, oh, by the way, for those watching live, we are going to do a commentary portion after the show. So if you have questions that are not related to this lens or this topic at hand, then please hold on to them until after. We'll come back and we'll do that, do those questions afterwards. Dieter is saying that the closest focus on this lens is about 1.3 meters. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Oh, and Fake Cube says the lens hood reverses. I don't think I knew that. Hey, there you go. That's handy. Okay, so that is always good so that you can store it properly. And then it even stays out of the way of the focus ring. Okay, even it zoomed all the way back with the lens forward, you can kind of get to the focus ring. Interesting. Okay, well that's good. That's mainly for storage. When you have a lens hood that doesn't reverse, it makes storing it harder, right? Because it takes up that much more space in your camera bag. If you take it off and you can't reverse it, now you've got another thing you have to store. Can be kind of annoying. Most lenses don't have that problem, but the 25-1.4 Leica lens hood doesn't reverse, and the 15mm Leica as well doesn't reverse. So it's a little annoying, but they're so wide that the lenses have to do this, and anyway. But this one does, so excellent. Very good to know. Why would anyone turn off the optical image stabilization? Eddie is asking. That's a really good question. If the camera is 100% stable, it's on a tripod, you're not touching it, right? You're not going to move it. Shoelaces just got caught. Not going to be moving it, not going to be touching it. In theory, and this used to be a hard, fast rule, but in theory, stabilization enabled on a camera that is not moving could introduce camera shake, could introduce image blur. I tested this once eons ago with the Canon 400mm f4 lens that has stabilization in it. I put it on a tripod, rock solid tripod, made sure nothing's moving, right? This camera is super solid, and turned stabilization off and put the camera on self-timer so there's no chance of movement. Take a picture. Turn on the stabilization, did the same thing, self-timer, step back, no movement, takes a picture, and the image with the stabilizer enabled was softer. There was a little bit of blur as the lens was like, I always equate it to like a boxer, you know, kind of like getting ready to move, getting ready, just in case he has to move, he's always kind of doing this, not standing still, always moving a little bit. It's kind of like that. Now that said, I think that in the modern cameras, i.e. these guys, I think that the camera's smart enough to know that it's not moving, it doesn't need to stabilize, the lens doesn't move. I think. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on this. But even when you're on a tripod, and unless that tripod is the solidest tripod ever, at 800mm, the tiniest little movement will show up in the lens. So turning on the stabilization is a great idea. So to answer the question, I don't really know why you would turn it off. I don't know that there really is a good reason. Save battery life, it would do that, but it doesn't matter if you have a longer battery if you're getting a bunch of blurry pictures because you can't handhold 800mm without stabilization. So I don't know. I don't know. Okay. Turn off, people, John Hawkins is saying, PhotoJoseph, turn off on Olympus. I don't know what you mean by that. Okay, let's look at some pictures, shall we? So I gotta, first, before I show you pictures, just to give you an idea of this place that I was, I've a little 1-minute video I'm gonna play, shot on the iPhone. This is just to show you what this safari park looks like. Now, for some really bizarre reason, QuickTime is not playing audio through the switching system. So you're just gonna hear it through the microphone. That's okay, it's just crappy iPhone audio anyway. But here we go. Oop, that's the wrong one. Let's do here.
And here we have the great emu ostrich who won't get the hell out of the way. Hello.
Excuse us. Excuse me, can we go by? Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me.
Move it, turkey.
Hey, crazy chicken, move it. Crazy chicken, seriously.
My God. Guys, he's gonna...
Oh shit, what is it doing?
He's gonna drop a deuce right on the hood of the car.
I didn't
He's
really
cleaning
just
the
say
bugs
that.
out of the grill. Come on. Hey, turkey, move it. Jesus, it's a big bird. Can you imagine Thanksgiving dinner? You could have one of these, like 100 people over.
He's just like...
Or just me.
Look at that butt. He's like
Look at
shaking
my
his
butt.
badonkadonk in your trunk.
Shake my badonka. Here we go.
It's like forcing us to watch it.
Hi. Oh, the windshield.
Whoa!
I realized this was... Oh.
And there you have one very exciting day. These things are huge. I think it's an emu. Is that an emu? I don't really know my fowl. That's an ostrich. See, yeah. There's emus later. The emus are scary. They're like these beaks. They're like, you think that thing's going to take your eye out. And they just come, they want to eat. There's a place in the park where you can get, here, do you want to see another video? I don't know why I'm showing you this stuff. Here, let's do, is this one? Yeah, here we go. I think this is a good one. No, this one's only 20 seconds. That's not the right one. Here, this will play.
Hi, baby.
Holy crap. Hi.
Hello.
Hi. Hi. You are so cool.
He wants more of the food.
Yes, I see that.
Just hold the cup up and let him take a bite out of it. Don't let him have it all, though.
Yeah, don't let him have it all. Hi, babies. Daddy.
For those of you that live in Ashland, you're like, yeah, we see that every day in Ashland. I know. But there you go. Okay, so that's the park. It's so much fun. Now let's look at some real pictures. Okay, let's switch over to Mr. Lightroom, and I'm not gonna. I shot. Oh, what did I shoot? I shot a lot of pictures. I shot. Come on, count. Apparently it stopped counting. I shot a lot of pictures. Oh, here, I did want to show you one more behind the scenes photo before we looked at the pictures, just to show kind of how this is getting used. So you can see it's just one of these super awesome LUMIX advantages. So big lens, I'm resting it on the rearview mirror just because, you know, my wrist would fall off. But look at the LCD. This is why I brought this up. The LCD tilting out allows me to compose and shoot while seeing the scene without having to lean my head out of the car, which would be obviously a challenge. It's so cool how this works. It really is a neat thing. I don't know, I'm just crazy impressed by this whole setup. I love it. I love it. You like that? Isn't that neat? Okay, so I just wanted to share that with you real quick. So now let me pull up the pictures. So in this park, as I mentioned, the big cats are behind fences. The other ones are not. So here, let's just switch over to this and I'll just pull up a few pictures. Actually, none of these are treated. Why does that one look so nice? That's interesting. It's like, I expect it to be all flat because it's a raw file, but that one's pretty good. So this huge bird, we called this the crazy chicken because this bird was nuts, chasing us down. So there's kind of a nice example of the autofocus performance. These shots here, actually, I wish I had behind the scenes of these. Those shots there, I was through the sunroof. This crazy chicken was behind us, attacking the car behind us. I'm really glad that my car was so dirty. The car behind me was shiny, black, very clean, and the bird went right up to its own reflection, started pecking at the car door. I'm thinking, that's not good for the paint. But then I'm doing this through the rear view, through the sunroof, holding it up again with the LCD obviously out, doing this. I guess I could just get out of the way. Get there. Doing this, holding it up like this, shooting that way. It was great. It's like, oh my God, I can really do this. Obviously, they're not all perfectly aligned shots, but it's, you know, this is the kind of things you can do. So look, it's the crazy chicken. But let's go back to the grid view. All right, so here, this beautiful lioness. So she is behind a fence. So I can get really close to the fence. She's chasing flies off of her nose. I could get, let's see. I was probably 5 feet or so from the fence, I'm gonna guess. I think so, 5 or so feet from the fence. She was probably another, I'm so bad at judging distances. I'm gonna say another 20 odd feet, 20 to 30 feet from there. So relatively close, but that fence in between, so annoying, right? If you can get right up to a fence and just top tip, no matter what kind of lens you're shooting with, what you're shooting, if you got a chain link fence in front of you, if you can put the camera lens right on top of it, just go right up to that fence, shoot wide open, the fence will disappear. You might lose a tiny bit of contrast in the image, nothing you can't fix in post, but this will allow you to shoot through a chain link fence and just eliminate it entirely. So definitely keep that in mind if you've ever got the situation. But here I couldn't get, you're not allowed to get out of your car, even though there's a fence there. Of course, there's the crazy chicken behind me, so I won't get out of the car anyway. But I couldn't get out of the car, so I couldn't get any closer than that. But even still, you can see that this is, it looks great. And there's a little, I kind of wonder some of these weird swirly line bokeh things. I'm wondering if that's from the fence. I'm thinking, yeah, it has to be. So look at the pattern there. See a diagonal pattern in there? That's got to be the chain link fence. Now, these photos are all raw, obviously, and this is all straight out of camera. I haven't done any work to these. And so they're raw, so they're a little bit flat. And plus, the chain link fence is definitely adding some more flatness to it. Now, there's one picture that I want to find, the one that I used for the title card here. There we go. That's the one. Is that it? Yeah, look at that. She's yawning and licking flies off, but man, she looks menacing. So let's, I just want to do a quick little tweak on the file. Let's take a look at the histogram, see what this looks like. Let's hide that. Okay, so you can see here in the histogram, we are definitely not maximum our shadows or our highlights here. So I could do this in curves. I can do this any number of ways. I always like curves. So let's just go to curves, and I'm going to pull that down, pull this up, stretch that out. I can go quite high on the highlights here and really add some nice contrast into that image. Add some nice brightness into there. Oops, didn't mean to add that extra point. There we go. Beautiful. Do that. Let's add a little bit of clarity into that. Okay, now it's a little bit too high contrast. Let's back that off a little bit too high contrast in there. And she looks great. I mean, that's just beautiful. Let's go 100%. So this is, all right, so now we're seeing a little bit of the noise coming through in here. In fact, let's, do I want to look at the original? Oops, there we go. There's the original. So yeah, we are getting a little bit of noise in here. So let's see what this was shot at. Let's go back to the library view. Look at the metadata. We are shooting, this is ISO 800, shot at 400 millimeters. This is zoomed all the way in. It's at 6.3 aperture, so wide open. So ISO 800, we are getting a little bit of noise in there. That's fair enough, a little bit of noise in there. Nothing, if you really wanted to get rid of the noise, that doesn't bother me. If you want to get rid of it, we could definitely do that. Let's get out of the preview and let's go to, where's my noise reduction in here? So a little bit of noise reduction. Boom. Gone. Looking good. Oh, that looks really smooth. Looking good there. So a little tiny bit of noise reduction, all gone, but again, didn't bother me at all, that little bit of noise. And pretty slick. Pretty slick. Might have made that a little bit too dark. Anyway, all right, let's see what else we got in here. Let's go back to the grid view and see what else we got. So there's our pretty kitty. I don't know, birds, ducks, weird, all kinds of animals. Honestly, I'm going to totally call these animals the wrong names because I don't know what any of them are. The bears were fun. They were unfortunately hiding under, it was hot out, so they were hiding under an awning. So you can see here they're in the shade. So the background is blown out, of course, because I'm exposing for the bear in the shade. But then here, one of them came out. So there's a little brown bear. I get these guys running through my backyard. Go figure. Let's see here. Giraffes. We didn't, not really good views of the hippos, unfortunately. Deer, we see those everywhere. Oh, these little baby emus. These are so cute. The kids are so excited about these guys. So there, all right. So there's moving, running, obviously. We are at focal length at 200 millimeters, so not zoomed all the way, zoomed halfway in. So at aperture of 5.1, this is ISO of 200, so we're in some good bright light in here. And it should be pointed out that the lion was in the shade as well. So, you know, that's playing into the higher ISO. This guy here is in the full sun, so we get a nice bright view of him. And focus tracking, just shooting focus tracking as the little guy's running around. And you see how nicely that did. It just locked right into that guy. Zoom in a little bit, nice and sharp and crisp. Beautiful. Beautiful little birdie. Let's do a quick little develop on this. We'll make this one easier. Let's just do a little contrast. Add a little contrast to that. Boom. Pretty little bird. All right, what else we got here? Go back to the grid view. And elephants. I love the elephant. Now, these guys were quite close. No chain link fence or anything between us. But you can tell there is some other type of a fence thing between them. Marvin is asking what setting we're using. 6K? No, this isn't 6K photo. This is just straight up regular photos. These are all full 21 megapixel, whatever it is, off of this camera. Look at that. Beautiful. Zoom in, let this redraw. Super sharp, really pretty. Great detail. Again, needs a little contrast. Needs a little contrast because it's a raw file. Looks fantastic. A little clarity in there. Gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous. All right, grid view. So you got the elephants, you got, all right, and then there's, oh, these guys, yeah. So there you really see the chain link fence because I could not get any closer, unfortunately. So these are the cats that they say you can come in and see special, on special access, you can see these guys out of the fence, out of the cage, which is pretty awesome. So now we're walking, there's a little walking area as well. There's some turtle shots that I wanted to pull up. Oh, these guys, this is through glass. Oh, right, I remember this. So, okay, so these are not good pictures because it's super dark in there and you have to shoot through glass. And because of the lens, I couldn't focus close enough. So I had to step back away from the glass. I couldn't be right on top of the glass, unfortunately. So that's another little tip for you. If you do have to shoot through glass, just like with the fence, get your lens right up to the glass. If you can pretend this is the glass, go straight on it like this. That will keep any light from entering in and getting reflections. That'll eliminate the reflections. If you got a lens hood on there, that's fine as well. It doesn't matter, whatever it is, but that will keep any stream reflections coming in. If you can't do that, if you can go up to the glass close and then have a coat or something over you to knock back the reflections, that can help as well. Here, I had to step back from the glass quite a bit. It was in the shade. It just made for not a pretty picture, but they're cute little monkey things, aren't they? They're adorable. All right, oh, the turtle. This was funny. I had to keep backing up. The turtle is walking towards me, and I had to keep backing up. So this is, all right, let's see. This is one of those kind of, even though it's a not the shallowest depth of field or not the fastest aperture in the world, what are at 6.3, 400 millimeters is zoomed all the way in, you definitely have some nice bokeh in here. I mean, there's a turtle face. There's a turtle eye. Should be totally sharp. Yep, totally sharp in the eye. And a little bit of the nice bokeh in the background there. So that was fun and cool. Missed focus there. Oh, and then this gator or crocodile thing. Now here, let me go back to Groovy. There's some pictures here that I know I took some time to get. There we go. Look at that thing. And again, I'm having to back up to be able to get a close enough focus. Needless to say, this beast is not somewhere he can get to me. But he's got a little moat separating us and a small fence that I'm sure he can't climb. But that's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. Look at that thing. Redraw. There we go. Neat. That's actually, that one's not, I missed focus on there. There's a sharp point there. I'll have to go through these and find the sharp ones, find the perfect ones. But yeah, like overall, that's in full sun to get kind of nasty shadows on them, but pretty awesome looking. Pretty awesome. So I was super impressed. I mean, I had a lot of fun shooting this stuff. Really great lens, being able to handhold. All of that was handheld. Didn't use a tripod anywhere because, well, I'm in the car. Can't really set up a tripod there. And then walking around, there's definitely no need for a tripod. I probably could have brought one into the walking around area, but there's no point. Yeah, it performed really, really well. I'm super happy with it. Yeah, every image you're seeing here, the raw one's a little flat. That's raw. Add a little contrast in there. Looks really nice. Even shooting through that fence, I think came out great. I'm really happy with those pictures. Overall, yeah, I'm stoked, man. It's a great, great combination. So let's see here. Let's do this. We're gonna move into the commentary momentarily here. Before we do that, let me just see what I can. Let me see what I can bring something up here. Oh, this is something I wanted to mention. So I know in yesterday's video, people were asking about the GH5 training and what's going on with that, the status on that. So I am excited to tell you that we are so very nearly done with all the recording. I have one chapter left to record, and that is on Vlog. And the only reason I haven't recorded it yet is, as those of you who've played with Vlog know, it's a very complicated topic, and try explaining it to someone quickly. Go. So I'm talking to Panasonic to make sure I have a complete understanding, not just of what it is, but why it's the way it is, but how to shoot it, how to expose for it, how to read the waveform in the back of your camera. This is all going into the video. So I'm having a little dialogue with them to make sure I got this super nailed and right, and then that's the last chapter to record, and everything is shot. It is all, of course, being edited. I just reviewed another batch of videos last night. It is taking a little longer than expected, but it is absolutely 100% in progress. And a second batch of videos went up last week, a few days ago, last week, Friday, I think it was. And I just approved another batch of edits. They're now in sound design, et cetera, et cetera. So it's taking time, but we're getting there. So if you haven't grabbed your copy of that yet, keep in mind, remember that this is on discount while it is still in production. So gh5training.com will get that to you, and we'll get you that as an early bird access, if you will. That means you pay less. It's $59 instead of $99, and you can start downloading the courses that are available right now. You don't have to wait for the whole thing to be completed. So there's that. And you get to help support the production. So if you don't have your copy yet, if you are interested in the LUMIX GH5, do check out that training. And it's also, again, I've pointed this out before, if you're a LUMIX shooter, but not for the GH5, there's a really good part. I keep saying like 75% or so. I haven't measured it, but give or take 75% or so of the course is still 100% valid to your camera. There are things that are, of course, unique to the GH5 that are in this course, but a good chunk of this will be relevant no matter what model of LUMIX camera you have. And even if you're not a LUMIX user, there's going to be a lot of info in there that'll be useful to you as a photographer in general. So there's that. Let's see here. What else is going on? Martin says he has petted the cheetahs in South Africa. That's crazy. That's awesome. Neat. Marvin says, shame we can't upload photos to you. I have some of my visit to an alligator farm in Oz. Yeah, that'd be cool if you could send photos. You can't send photos to this. If you have a link to it somewhere, you can't even put a link in here. Yeah, not going to work. Dieter says, I could shoot, let's go back to this. I could shoot 1/40th of a second handheld with a 400mm. Unbelievable stabilizer. Look at that. No need for a tripod most of the time. 1/40th of a second at 400mm. That's insane. Marvin says, please don't put the price up until the end of the month. Bought Affinity yesterday, so I have to wait until OEM for the training. Price up to the end of the month. Please don't put price. I'm not quite sure what you mean by put the price up to the end of the month. Not quite sure what you mean there, buddy. John Morby says, I take a tripod when I go wandering, folds down to smaller than my 10 by 10 inch, expands to full 5 foot long when I need it, plus it's 3 feet so I can stand alone. Yeah, so it can stand, 3 feet so it can stand alone, one of those little mini tripod things. I wouldn't want to put this on that. I would not do that. That would be a bad idea. Okay, let's see here. Trevor agrees. Shooting log is not easy and not easy to explain, but I'm getting it. I'm getting it. Ryan's confirming that he's saying, don't tempt me. Well, it's, you know, buy now. Okay. Oh, maybe saying don't raise the price until after the end of the month. It's not going to be done before the end of June, so that you're safe on. That was the second target. I missed the first target. Now I missed the second target. Deadlines. Love the sound they make when they go wishing by over my head. Okay. I think that's it. All right, let's wrap this thing up, and then we're going to come back for the commentary. So, again, if you have any questions that are not related to this, hold on to them. We're going to address those in just a moment here. If you are interested in buying this fabulous lens, do scroll down, grab one of the affiliate links in my place thing, because that helps keep the show on the air. Also, if you are enjoying this show, we do appreciate your support. We love you watching. Make sure you have subscribed to the channel. Make sure you give this video a lovely thumbs up. Just go do that right now. Just do it right now. Do it right now. Even if you're on mobile, you can just rotate your phone. You can tap. Just hit that thumbs up. What else? Oh, Patreon. This thing right here. This thing right here. No, this one. This one. One of these over here. It's here. There it is. Got to get it before it goes away. Patreon.com/PhotoJoseph allows you to support the show on a regular, ongoing basis. I really appreciate that. That is super awesome to have that type of support because, after all, it costs money to run this thing. So, got to make some somewhere along the way. All right, let's wrap this thing out, and we'll come back for the commentary. Again, thank you very much. If you are watching live, stick around for a moment. If you are not watching live, then click on the link that's going to pop up in just a moment here to bring you to your to the commentary part of the show. See you in a bit. Bye bye.